To put what we're experiencing in a more culinary fashion, let's put it this way. Our little appetizers of our conversational snow are finished. The main course is now cooking and will be served on Thursday into Friday. Will Portland keep its reputation this winter of the place that has dodged snow, even when compared to places like New Orleans or Pensacola? Or will we see some snow finally? We'll find out. First off, the National Weather Service's watches and warnings. I will note that these are for Monday night into Tuesday. So there is going to be a cold weather advisory up for tonight going into tomorrow morning. So because of temperatures getting below 25 degrees widespread. All right, the setup for this cold snap here. So we have a high pressure system that will be sliding down from the Arctic off to our east. By Thursday, it should be somewhere by the Continental Divide as a low pressure system tries to move in somewhere between the central and southern Oregon coast. My best estimate is that this low pressure system will come pretty close to Coos Bay, but end up making landfall a little bit north of it. So I'd probably say about Reedsport. It will curve up towards the Willamette Valley, but not super far to the north. So it will still pass to the south of a majority of us here in the Willamette Valley. That is going to bring colder east winds out of the Columbia River Gorge, especially on Thursday, though I do expect it to start beforehand on Tuesday and Wednesday to a lighter amount, and that is going to keep the Portland metro area, especially in the freezer box, and increase their chances of snow and increase everyone's chances of freezing rain as well. So that's the setup from now until Thursday. I do want to touch a little bit on one of the biggest myths out there, which is can't really get good cold after the first week of February. So here I have what I brought up from the National Weather Service in downtown Portland and in Eugene. On the left, I specifically stopped it on any day that was under 30 degrees. Now, at the Portland airport, there's only one day after the 7th of February that has a high temperature below 30 degrees. March 3rd, 1960, with a high temperature of 29 degrees. So it's almost a month later than the second latest. When I actually go back further on downtown Portland, you can see that there's 19 days in total. Now, actually, four of those days have occurred in the last 12 years in our recent active cycle of Februarys that have begun in 2014. One of these days occurred in 2014, two occurred in 2021, and one occurred the day after the February 22nd, 2023 snowstorm. All four of these days, PDX did not get below 30 degrees for its high temperature. I believe two of these days, both of the ones in 2021, it hit 30 degrees, and in 2014 and 2023, it hit 31 degrees. When you go back further, it gets a little bit more common, but the next year before 2014, you have to go all the way back to 1936 to even get a day below 30 degrees, and that's before PDX records start in 1940. Now, if you take a look at these ending dates, a lot of these are concentrated around mid-February, but there are a few scattered later than the 17th as the last common date, with one occurring on the 22nd back in 1910, and one occurring on March 2nd, 1896, with a high temperature of 26 degrees. Now, let's compare that to Eugene. If you notice here, still took the same 19 amount of days, but I did not have a temperature I set. I just wanted this in for comparison. Only 2 days after February 7th has it been under 30 degrees for the entire day. And both of these were back in the 1930s. This tells me that the cold snaps that do occur after the first week of February tend to be a lot more gorge influenced than the cold snaps and Arctic blasts earlier on in the season and December, and January. This also backs up previous data showing that the deep Arctic blasts significantly go down in frequency once you turn the calendar to February. So there is still potential for significant cold once you get into the middle and latter parts of February, but you do have to be closer to the gorge to actually get the full potential. Now, as a side note, what is an Arctic blast? This is my personal definition. Every meteorologist is going to have a different definition of it. Um, so first off, a deep Arctic blast I define as when 850 millibar temperatures, which is the temperature measured typically at about 400 feet, and 850 millibars is the specific pressure that we're measuring at. And these are measured over Salem because that's where the weather balloons are launched from. We're looking for temperatures at negative 12 Celsius or lower. I specifically chose this amount because when you descend an air parcel adiabatically, which is fancy words in this case, from just that level straight down to the surface under a completely dry environment, it will stay below freezing through the entire air column, assuming there is no other forcing or what we call super adiabatic processes, which this time of year starts to happen with the higher sun angle. If that is not met, I do have a separate definition, which is called a low level Arctic blast. So when the above criteria is not met, however, one of the following is met: either a 26-degree high temperature, a 14-degree low temperature, or 3 consecutive days failing to get above freezing. I specifically chose that high temperature because that is the standard atmospheric lapse rate. So that's the average temperature difference from the 850 millibar level to down at the surface. And low temperature was calculated by using the standard difference between the high temperature and the low temperature. As a note, neither criteria is expected to be hit for this cold snap. So when below average temperatures are expected, but I don't expect either of these to occur, I generally call it a cold snap, unless if I'm uncertain, then I use whatever or term I feel is more appropriate. All right. Onto our forecast notes, there's still too much uncertainty on the precipitation form and amount in the Portland metro area to make accurate snowfall forecasts. Some forecast models do want to bring that low pressure system further north than where I'm bringing it in. There's a few that also want to bring it further south and keeping Portland mostly dry. This would still keep the South Valley moist and actually would increase their chances of snow. And because this is a backdoor cold snap where the coldest temperatures are going to be east of the Cascades and a sharp gradient, that means the cold east winds. And also, models do tend to scour out the cold air in the Portland area too quickly in these type of patterns. Freezing rain is also more likely the further south you go because you are getting further away from that gorge influence. And because that low pressure system is being positioned further south, that is going to increase the likelihood of what's called warm air advection, which is when warmer air happens in the middle atmosphere, which is what causes that freezing rain, especially if you're getting that low level influence from the remnants of the Columbia River Gorge winds. It's also a quick hitter event, as I do anticipate warmer precipitation to follow starting Saturday or Sunday. Speaking of that, let's move on to our 7-day forecast. First off, for the southern Willamette Valley, I do expect high temperatures to be in the 40s for the next 3 days down there, with low temperatures in the lower 20s or the upper teens for the Corvallis and Eugene airports. I will note that these two airports are outside of the urban core areas, so those that live inside the urban core areas may see temperatures a few degrees above this due to the urban heat island effect. Thursday, a wintry mix leaning towards freezing rain right now. Oh, maybe transitioning to just plain old rain later in the day before falling back below freezing on Friday morning for another chance of freezing rain before warming back above freezing firmly as we go into heavier precipitation on Saturday and Sunday, with high temperatures on Sunday actually getting above normal for the first time in a couple of weeks. Onto the Portland area. High temperatures will be in the 40s for today and tomorrow. I expect it to drop into the 30s now on Wednesday, with that daily record low temperature occurring Tuesday night into Wednesday morning for Portland. And on Thursday, I do anticipate precipitation to start as snow for pretty much everyone in the metro area. Some in the metro area, especially further south, may transition into more of a wintry mix on Thursday evening. And on Friday, I expect most areas to be transitioned over to a wintry mix. High temperatures will remain about 33 degrees on both days. Saturday morning, I think everyone will just be under freezing rain, but areas outside of the primary gorge influence will warm up faster than areas closer to the mouth of the Columbia River Gorge. High temperature at PDX, I do anticipate will stay in the 30s, while on Sunday, a quick warm up with a high of 51 degrees. So that's going to be it for this video. I will come out with another update tomorrow for the latest on this upcoming cold snap and potential wintry mischief. So until then, stay safe out there and take care.